Hi, and welcome to another episode of Miss V Teaches. I'm Miss V, and today we are going to dig in a little bit deeper into one of our main story elements. That story element is the plot. The plot is the sequence of events that take place in a story. But today we're going to take that and we're going to expand it. We're going to dig deeper and we're going to learn about something called the story plot mountain. Now, the story plot mountain is how all stories are created or how they're drafted, how we get through them. And they have the same parts of beginning, middle, and end, but each of these parts has little parts inside of them. And today I'm going to go over those little parts. So let's start at the beginning. In the beginning, you have your exposition and you have your conflict. The exposition is where we meet our characters. It's where we find our setting. It's where we get background information. Like if you're reading a chapter book or a higher level book, we'll get background information. It's where we get the groundwork to build our story. It's where we get our foundation. Along in the exposition, we usually come across our conflict. That is where we are first introduced with our problem. The reason why the problem is introduced early on is because throughout the story, we're going to see our character grow, change, develop based on their interaction with this problem. It can be an external problem, meaning it's coming from the outside. There's an outside force. There's a villain causing this problem. Or it could be internally. It could be something that the character feels insecure about, something that they don't trust. It could be a problem that they have created for themselves. So this conflict is what we're introduced to. This problem is what we see towards the beginning in our exposition, right to the conflict. Then we get to the middle of our story. In the middle of our story, we have our rising action. Our rising action is where we see the tension start to grow. We know our initial problem. We know what the character is up against, but now we're seeing the tension grow. The problem gets bigger. The character is trying many different things, many different ways to solve their problem. And we're learning about the character with how they are addressing this problem. They have not solved it yet. They have not found a solution. Maybe they fixed little problems, but the big problem is still there. And they're still working through it. They're still growing as a character as they're working through these problems. Then we reach our climax. Our climax is the big moment in our story. It's where our character either faces their problem. It's where the problem gets bigger. It's where the author might surprise the reader. It's also where our story hits its turning point, where we're like, oh, now we're about to get to them fixing this problem. Oh, they overcame that. They faced it and they overcame it. That all happens in the climax. And then we get to the end part of our story plot mountain. In our end, we find our falling action. Our falling action is when our character actually starts to reach their solution, if there is a solution. They start to fix the big problem. The steps start falling in place because the author is wrapping up the story. So the character starts to fix the problem. We start seeing a change in characters. Maybe one character was one way, and then we see that flip, that change in who they are. And this happens in the falling action as the character is fixing the problem, as the loose ends are being tied up, and then we get to our resolution, which is just the way that we end our story. Remember, the resolution and the solution, which is happening in the falling action, are not the same. The solution is what fixes the problem. Solution and problem go together. But the resolution is just the ending. It's just how the story ends. Usually in our resolution, we also find what the character learned, if there is a lesson that needed to be taught. A lot of times in fairy tales, in the resolution, we figure out, oh, this is what this book meant to teach me. In our resolution, we might be thinking about why did the author write this book? All the lessons and things that really make a book finish happen in the resolution. And that is all that is within the plot of our story. All of these parts happen in that sequence of events that take place in the story. So when you go off to read, take your time through your book. Think to yourself, where am I within the plot? Did I just meet the characters? Did I just get background information? Have I found that initial problem that's really going to challenge my main character or characters throughout the book? What am I learning about my character? How are they dealing with this problem? How are they facing this problem? What obstacles are getting in their way? Whoa, what surprised me? What really had me thinking, oh my gosh, will they get through it? How did they overcome it? What was the solution? How did the author start to wrap up the story? How did the story end? What did my characters learn from this story? What did I as a reader learn? What was my author's purpose in writing this book? These are all things you can be thinking about as you're reading your book. Until next time, bye!